Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the final round of the RENNSPORT Community League Season 3. And we are here at Spa-Franchorchamps, one of the most known, I'd say, and highly regarded racetracks in the world, to set up for a very interesting finale on track. But I won't be alone on getting you through this evening, because I'm joined as usual by my beloved co-commentator Tim Ireland.
Beloved now.
Yeah.
Hey Lino, how are you?
Well, I'm quite energetic for today, I guess, because we are definitely having a good race on our hands with the drivers we have in here. I mean, just to talk you through some names that are in this race, we have Dominik Lada, we have the man we are currently seeing here in qualifying, Joachim Thunder, Julian Chicot, Danny Schroeder, we have Pascal Jordan, we have Lucas Mint, the winner of last time's RCE, and a few very promising looking newcomers as well. One of them being Sebastian Kühn. So, yeah, I have high expectations. How about you?
Yeah, me as well, to be honest. It's there's a good field. It's Spa in GT3s. Nothing, can't complain there. So hopefully we're in for some fantastic racing and close racing. And on top of that, we have the championship points, which are pretty close at the top.
Which are, but as I just listed the more notable drivers we have in this race, you might have noticed there's one name missing from the list, and that is our second championship contender. Dennis Heinz, not here today.
Yeah, disappointing that he couldn't make it, but I'm sure even without Dennis Heinz here, we're going to have some great racing on track.
Will definitely be a blast in terms of the race win, because that will, I think, be very competed for, let's say, very much competed for, with the drivers we see in the top 6 and Lucas Mint, who's yet to set a valid lap time, but you can already see Sector 1 nearly 300th of a second faster than Dominik Lala in another Porsche. The Audis and Porsches seem to be very strong here, don't they?
They do, yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of Porsches in the field, as we do tend to have. Mainly Porsches on track right now. Got a couple of Aston Martins, some Audis, and a lone BMW. No chance for the top five manufacturers because there's no AMG.
Well, but there's still a chance with the top 4, I guess. I mean, Pascal Jordan, I think at the moment from the main drivers of the BMW that we know, he might be one of the most interesting ones to watch. He just gets so much performance out of the car.
Yeah, he definitely knows how to work the German front engine car, so I'm sure we'll see some good racing out of him, and he's doing pretty well in qualifying right now.
The German part of that doesn't really narrow down the car selection, I gotta admit. But here comes Lucas Mint. Second sector wasn't as tight as it had to be, but he still has a couple of laps left to do. It's enough to put him in 4th, and this race is as long as last week's RCE. And we have seen a 45-minute race from him without a single mistake.
Yeah. So a very consistent driver, very quick, knows his way around the car. I'm sure today will be no different. So quite a challenge for the other drivers.
In the background there, behind Dominic, we see Pierre Kolbeck, again in the EWC liveried Porsche. Always nice to see him on track. And he also backed some good results in the championship. We'll go through the standings fairly soon. But here comes Dominik Lada setting up for another lap, but that was maybe a bit wide there. Some people will be able to finish their lap. can't talk, just like Julian Chico will be, but this definitely won't be a new best time with 12 seconds off in the first sector.
Oh, nice bit of squirrely back end action coming out of the last corner.
Now, of course, also getting ready for the race. Seems like our grid for the race is set, and Dominik Lada with quite the dominant show here. 5/10 ahead of Sebastian Kühn. They were fairly close in the beginning of the qualifying session, but we have Dennis Kühn in P2. Best of the Audis, then Dennis Schröder, Lukas Mint, and then again 2 Audis with Chico and Thunder. Pascal Jordan in 7th, and then the 2 Aston Martins, Michael Caine and Mark Haddad in 8th and 9th. So, yeah, I think we have quite the interesting grid. We know that Dennis Schröder is always going for the win if he can. We know that Lukas Mint is doing that. Sebastian Kühn is looking like he will do so. What are your verdicts? What do you think?
It's difficult not to bet on Dominic Ladler, and I keep doing it, but I'm not going to do that because I keep cursing people with my choices.
Well, I'm gonna completely leave my vote out of this time. However, it is very interesting to have a new name up top as well with Sebastian Kühn. Nobody of them really knows him. So it will be a very unknown variable in this race. But we can already hear the cars. We'll talk about the schedule later this time as well. But here we go. We enter grid formation on the fairly short start-finish straight of Spa-Franchorchamps. And we go racing for a final time here in Season 3 of the RENNSPORT Community League. Down into turn 1, Dominik Lal already able to get an advantage. Dennis Schröder having a look down the inside. That's Julian Chico also making his way up to 4th. I think Joachim Thunder has lost a few players. He's currently behind the BMW of Pascal Jordan. But now side by side. Oh, and further behind as well. And off goes... Who's the number 4 Porsche? That's Lukas Mint.
Lukas Mint.
Oh, and Joachim Thunder, big crash in the background as well. Let's see if his car is damaged heavily or not. Seems like there's some front end damage.
It's taken a fair beating, but he seems to be carrying on.
Meanwhile, Dennis Schröder just can't find a way past Sebastian Kühn. While Chico's dipping 2 tires into the gravel. This race also does reintroduce refueling and fuel usage. So this will of course also play into the hands of the veterans.
Yeah, I'm sure Joachim Thunder back there, it looks like he needs to take his car in for a pit stop, so he's maybe going to go heavy on the fuel and try and one-stop it within the first lap.
Julian Chico, though, having a very good start to this race. We know that he can be quick on the opening. We know that sometimes in the long run he runs into a few issues, but so far, a very good opening lap, jumping to 4th overall.
Yeah, it was a good start by him, and he seems to be on the tail of this kind of second small pack of cars we have racing here, and I'm sure he'll quickly be up with those. Especially if they keep going side by side.
For him, Thunder definitely not the way he wanted the season to end. And Lukas Mint running wide, Pascal Jordan using that to get alongside for the second part of the bus stop. And now side by side down the main straight and up front. Oh, it's Dennis Schröder in the wall and across the racetrack. Lukas Mint is able to avoid him just ever so slightly.
That was a close shave.
How did that happen, though? Meanwhile, Pascal Jordan was able to get past Lukas Mint, of course, with a bit of help there. But how did Dennis Schröder loop it around? Meanwhile, the two Aston Martins going at it at the Rouge side by side. Uh-oh. I think that was one of them going a bit straight there. And Lucas Mint coming back at Pascal Jordan. A bit of slipstream around the outside is doable at Lacan. And retakes 4th place. I think these two will have some fun.
That was a good overtake. It was nice and clean.
Is there any damage on Danny Schroeder's car? He was in the grass, but was he in the wall? There's some damage to the rear right. Doesn't seem to really influence his pace. Meanwhile, Joachim Thunder's in the pass. Same goes for, I think that's Yolun.
Pierre Colbeck is driving with half a Porsche right now. His front right-hand side is looking very damaged.
Oh, there we see it. Big gaping hole there. Won't do him much of a favor. Have you seen by chance what happened with Danny Schroeder and the two Audis?
I didn't know. I didn't see it from my camera angle, and I'm hesitant to go back in time on my replay in case my game crashes.
That's a fair point, but I also can't spot any damage on Julian Chicot's car, because he was the car behind Danny Schroeder.
Yeah, his car looks pretty good. I think he managed to come out of that nice and cleanly. Gaining a few free places, I'm sure he won't be too upset about that.
Meanwhile, Danny Schroeder has come back from this, well, disappointing end to a good opening lap. And it seems like Joachim Thunder's also back on the road. So that's very good to see.
With a nice factory fresh Audi.
Of course, right in front of now the leading cars with a much heavier car, I presume. Because I'm sure that he did use the opportunity to immediately refuel. So he doesn't have to come in once more.
I know that's what I would have done, but I'm not racing, so...
Dominic Lala lead has extended to 2.7 seconds. Just a question, now that Kühn has a bit of a gap to Chicot himself, if he starts to push, will that gap drop down? Oh, and is that Ralph Haddad and Pierre Colbeck?
Yeah, I only switched over cameras just to see what was happening, so I didn't see what caused that, unfortunately.
Meanwhile, the two Astons still going at each other. A bit of damage to the rear end of Mark Haddad's car, who's going wide. And if you are on that part of Puhon, that is not comfortable. It's so bumpy out there, you can easily lose the car. It's actually fairly dangerous to go out wide there.
It won't have done his tyres much good either, because they tend to get pretty hot when you go that wide. Some of his rear light cluster isn't working, so he must have taken a bit of a shunt at some point.
Michael Caine just can't quite find his way through. Now on the outside of Blanchimont, trying to get more speed into the bus stop. Haddad defending on the inside line. Michael Caine not quite braking as late. Oh, and Mark Haddad actually went wide here and is now stopped on the outer sides of the bus stop. It's just resumed.
He's moving
driving
again.
Maybe fell into a bit of an issue. Wouldn't be the first hardware-related issue we had in a race, in sim racing overall.
No.
I mean, I think many will have seen a certain clip of a certain Formula 1 world champion breaking off his brake pedal at this very track in a different sim racing platform. So in that way, no, it definitely wouldn't be new, but it seems like Haddad was able to resume driving without many more issues.
I've not broken a brake pedal, but I have broken a VR headset in the middle of an endurance race. That was
I'm not sure what is worse off though.
it was actually at Spa as well. I was just going through a no-name corner and everything went black.
What I had, it was at Brands Hatch, so different track. My monitor just turned black for a solid 5 seconds. But I was just entering the, I think it's Hawthorns, right? The right-hander that goes uphill after the straight on the GP part of the track.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just approaching that and I basically drove through the corner blind just to have my monitor on again just by the next right-hand turn. And I actually was surprised I was still on track. I haven't even lost time. Just purely by memorizing it. Meanwhile, Thunder completely stuck. Well, not quite stuck, but having to let by the traffic. Not a very good feeling.
It's the downside of I know he had some repairs, so he was kind of forced into the early pit stop strategy, but once you start getting the blue flags and you have to let people through, it becomes very detrimental to your time.
I mean, for the same reason, on shorter circuits, many series tend to have no blue flags in that regard because you're still racing the car. Of course, also the reason why you don't see or don't have a blue flag rule in NASCAR, that just simply don't exist. If you pit and it takes you more than a lap to just pit in time, then yeah, of course, it wouldn't make much sense. The gap up front, 4.5 seconds. So Dominik Ladler is definitely just showing his pace here. But Dominik always has been quite good at Spa, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. And it's a track that every sim racer knows pretty quickly. Some drivers are still better at it than others. And when you have the likes of Dominik Ladler knowing the track, knowing the machinery, he's pretty quick.
Yeah, and I mean, this also reflects in the standings. Of course, Dennis Heinz, unfortunately not being able to compete in the last race, not able to compete in this race. And this secures the championship already for Dominik Ladler. He's now a 3-time RENNSPORT Community League champion. So, congrats to him on that front. I mean, well deserved apart from that as well. Of course, he had a flawless showing last time in Road Atlanta, taking advantage of Dennis Heinz' situation. But also with Dennis Heinz' win streak of 4 races, he always was at least in a good position to finish, but mostly even on the podium. But apart from that, I mean, Thunder in this race, Chico in this race, Colbeck in this race, Jordan in this race, Schroeder in this race. There's some stuff to change.
Oh yeah, it was never a sure thing, I don't think, with Dominik Ladler, although you might disagree that after 5 laps he's got 5 seconds lead. But he couldn't just kind of like rest and hope. He still had to put a decent showing in, and he's definitely doing that.
Now Lucas Mint on the attack on Julian Chico, just as he did with Jordan Tate. Can he pull it off again? So that's Lucas Mint now in the podium positions.
Yeah, and a purple sector 1. I mean, he no doubt got a bit of help in the draft there, but he still a worthy accolade.
Question will just be, can he catch Sebastian Kühn? Because he has built quite a mountable gap to the 2 cars behind, to Lucas Min and Julian Chicot. Pascal Jordan also hasn't lost track of them, so that will be fairly interesting. And Dennis Schröder is just waiting in there. Oh, and Julian Chicot very late on the brakes, but that Audi is good on the brakes. I think there was just a little brush on the rear bumper. Oh, and there goes Chicot around.
Yeah, a bit of an unforced error there. Just got the power a bit too quick after the bus stop on those slippery outside curbs. And round his Audi went.
Well, we have talked about it. So if we curse him or not, that's up for you guys to decide. But indeed, Pierre Colbeck is currently the last car on track driving, as it seems. Fortunately, Joachim Thunder also has DNF'd. He wrote in the Discord that the car was still pretty much slow. I mean, of course, it seems like he had a very big hit during Eau Rouge, and engine damage, to my knowledge, is not repaired.
No, I think it is just suspension and aero damage. You're right. Engine damage generally takes a lot longer to fix than is within the bounds of a 45-minute race.
Yeah, I mean, maybe many years ago in some certain series he had replacement engines. But even though you can swap out a body panel of, for example, this Porsche in 10 seconds, yeah, fixing anything on the engine is kind of a time-consuming thing, of course. That's why usually, once there is an issue with the engine, you see teams not really going out with it anymore.
Especially with the risk of doing more damage to your engine. Those things are kind of expensive.
Of course, even more caution on the hybrid system, on the hypercars, for instance. So there's a lot of stuff you can repair, but engine is always a very tricky one. But while the season seems to have gone really unlucky throughout the season, unfortunately, for Joachim Thunder, seems like this one is way better for Dominic Lally. I wouldn't even call him having a lot of luck in the first 2 seasons. He really had to fight for it. In this one, he had a bit more luck on his side. Not to put into perspective that he had less skill or anything. Quite the opposite. He had some stunning drives, but still did profit of some other mistakes or situations that came up in the season.
Yeah.
And therefore might be his most dominant season yet. I will check the points of the first 2 seasons real quick, but this one could well be ending up with about 210, 220 points of a gap to P2, to Dennis Heinz.
Yeah, Heinz not showing up for the last 2 rounds definitely put a dent in his points there and gave Ladler a fairly epic lead.
So in Season 2 he won over Joachim Thunder by about 126 points. So not even a race worth of points. And Season 1 was 150 points. But that's still Not quite reachable with one race, but
Dominic Ladler becoming more dominant as time goes on then.
very much so. And you know what's more interesting about this statistic or fact or however you want to call it? That Dennis Heinz would still be, if I see that correctly, I will just double check, just slightly lower on points than Joachim Thunder was last season, because Dennis Heinz is sitting on 600 points. So even compared to the other seasons, he would comfortably sit in second.
Oh, okay. What would have been if he turned up to all the races?
I mean, with the way that Dominic Ladler is showing himself here today, that would have been some very tough competition for him to beat. Fireworks already going off for our Season 3 champion, ladies and gentlemen.
I've started a bit too early celebrating around here.
Perhaps. But I also want to mention Sebastian Kuhn. He's still running in second. Lucas Mint is slowly, very slowly reeling him in. But, I mean, it's his first time in any official event.
Yeah, I couldn't find his name anywhere in the list of results. So I'm fairly sure he's a newcomer, and he's definitely showing himself pretty good in this race. Being second to Dominic Ladler, as he is at the minute, is definitely nothing to be ashamed of.
And, I mean, especially being still a bit more than a second ahead of Lucas Mint. We've seen how good Lucas Mint was in the RCE. We've seen him before, quite some time ago, but he came back and decided to absolutely crush the RCE, which also had some good names in it. I mean, we still had Danny Schroeder, who gave him a good run for his money, but in the end, he just had the more consistent race in that regard. So
Danny Schroeder coming up to deal with a bit of lap traffic right now, with Julian Sicko not far behind.
I think that might be Mark Huddard.
It's Michael Caine, I believe. Mark Haddad is DNF now.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. Oh, but completely missing the break point. I think that maybe have gotten Julian Sicko a bit of a hard stoppage.
I know it did for me.
Fairly easy to do, though. On board with Lucas Mint.
Lucas Mint creeping up to Sebastian Kuhn here. So it's not going to be long before he's starting to be thinking about possible overtaking locations.
We are also not too far away, I think, from other duels. I mean, Sicko, of course, lost a lot of time, but I think Dennis Schroeder's getting back to form.
Yeah, the gap between Jordan, Schroeder and Sicko is fairly even right now, and it does seem to be slowly closing up. So with any luck for us as observers, we could have a fairly fun three-way battle going on there.
Now, we haven't talked about it for quite a while. We haven't seen it that often in recent times, but the livery on Lucas Min's car. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Just as the exit out of bus stop, that was absolutely magnificent.
It was. He made up a lot of time there, didn't he? But it didn't. And he also gained a lot of time on Danny Schroeder. So he must just be very quick through there.
Now to the inside. He usually finds himself on the outside going into Le Comp, but this time on the inside. And down the inside, Lucas Mint goes, and this is really the spot he likes.
Yeah, and Sebastian Kuhn there was very respectful in his driving, giving him plenty of space without just giving the place away. So that's always good to see.
That is Pierre Kolbeck, who went to fix his car. Is now being put a lap down. Now having a look at the last times, Lucas Mint is also ever so slightly faster than Dominik Lala, but with 8.4 seconds. That is a big task, I think, upon him, but we will see. We know how consistently good Ladler is. We know how fast and consistent Lucas Mint is.
Yeah, they're running very similar lap times right now. Dominic Ladler's best lap is currently a 2:15.9. He's the only person to have hit the 2:15s. He did so in qualifying as well. So he can run a little bit quicker. But, of course, that's on clean qualifying tyres. Whereas these ones have already done 10 laps.
This time Lucas Mint got a bit wiggly on the tail end. But not quite whipping there through bus stop, as it seems. Will Sebastian Kuhn be able to use that to his advantage, though?
It seems catching Sebastian Kuhn up and losing Sebastian Kuhn seem to be two very different things here.
And as it seems, I just had to double check, we won't see pit stops here today. Unfortunately on the one hand, or maybe fortunately on the other, because this seems to be very interesting between the two of them. And we would have pit stops, well, this lap, usually. Not quite sure why we will have to figure that out, but that I think won't really put down what finale we have here today. And, well, Lucas Mint has closed down by a 10th in the last minute roundabout. He still has close to 20 minutes to go. But I think if he can get a good run through Sector 2 here, he might be able to kind of dispose of the Audi of Sebastian Kuhn. Meanwhile, I just want to mention Pascal Jordan running in 4th. Just a bit in no man's land throughout the race. Wasn't quite close enough to the pack of 4 in the opening phase of the race. And also didn't really have anyone behind him as he just runs a bit wide there. But no big mistakes around his side.
No, he's been having a really clean race. Looking at his lap times, he's been very consistent. Yeah, he is stuck in a bit of no man's land at the minute, like you said. Julian Sicko is catching up with Danny Schroeder, so if those two start battling, they're definitely not going to be catching up to him anytime soon.
Lucas Mint just took out another second of the lead from Dominik Lala. There should be no traffic in any form in the way. Michael Caine is approximately 30 seconds in front of the lead pack. But of course, as this marks the end of Season 3, there has to be a Season 4, doesn't it?
That does tend to be how things work, yeah.
So why don't we take a look at it? Because Season 4 will start off in 2 weeks. There's no time to make a break. But yeah, we will start off Season 4 in Fuji. We will go back to Japan to open up Season 4. We've had it in Season 2, I think. Then we will go back to Monza. Then we will go to America, to Daytona. Back to this place we are racing right now, Spa-Franchorchamps. And then to a, I can almost guarantee, action-packed race at Orchard Road in late January. And you can already see that on the final one, you see a question mark. You don't quite know what it is, because it will be a community vote. We will, in January sometime, put out a voting on the social media platforms, on the Discord. We'll figure that out later on, I guess. But there will be a voting for what track it will be. So we will give you 2 tracks to choose from. You can vote which one you want. And this one will be the hosting track of the final race. We haven't quite had this. We had the mystery track for race 1, which then turned out to be Jeddah. But I think community votings could be quite rare. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to see what tracks people want to see the racing around. I think it could be a fun choice. Who knows?
I mean, depending on who is competing for the championship in this season, there are some strong candidates, as we see in this race, but everybody has different strengths. So some might say, okay, I'd rather want something tight and technical like Road Atlanta. Of course, it won't be one of the 5 tracks that is already in the season. But maybe another person says, I rather want to have a flatter, more flowing GT circuit like Hockenheim. Or, who knows, I want a more high-speed circuit like Jeddah for the final race. But you will see what the choices will be. We, of course, won't tell you yet. And yeah, it will be an interesting experiment as well, I guess.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the community votes for there. It could be... There might be some fan favourites. There might be a bit of a wild card choice. Who knows?
Now, of course, this will all be also posted on the Discord, and it's also part of the regular schedule graphic, so you can always have a look at it. So now get back to the racing, because, well, Sebastian Kuhn hasn't really quite let go of Lucas Mint. It's the 8/10th.
No, he's holding onto there with both hands at the minute, and he's doing a fairly good job of keeping up with Mint. So he's not willing to give up second place just yet.
I think that Audi is also dealing quite well with dirty air. It still has a very good balance if you like the oversteer, which it of course also has by nature, but can actually quite help through some corners. Meanwhile, I'm seeing in the chat a very humbling and kind of funny message from one of Dennis Schröder's mates, Joachim Pfanner. Of course, they are mates at TRL. That Dennis Schröder's actually driving with his kid on his lap, and so his daughter, as far as I can see, and she's playing with the wheel buttons and stuff while he's driving. I mean, he's still driving considerably. Can you talk?
Considerably.
Thank you. Considerably fast for that. This also explains why he dropped down behind Julian Chikoba now with the power of 2 people behind the wheel, maybe you will catch back up to the Audi.
Driver swaps in RENNSPORT confirmed.
It's a different kind of driver swap. Imagine you're Kevin Esther and then just, I don't know, Dries Fantor is joining in, or Lawrence Fantor, makes more sense, I guess. It's just joining in and you drive side by side.
But yeah, that's the one of the joys of being a sim racing dad is you often have to jump out for random child-based interludes.
That's a nerf from being too good on track.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
What I remember from my childhood, and now don't come with your still child, I'm 22 years old at this point, okay? But what my parents did when me and my sister were quite young, we basically have like separate garages, like a separate garage park from our house, which is connected with a small road in between, like on private estates still.
Okay.
And what they then used to do when we had swapped cars around from our garage to the one on the garage park, that they would sit in the car and me or my sister would sit on their lap and we would steer while they were, of course, putting throttle and clutch and all that.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I mean, 5 years old maybe, maximum, this was always so cool because, like, I was driving a car, man. Maybe she's feeling the same way. But yeah, Sebastian Kühn, he's holding up the pressure definitely to Lucas Mint. Still has 10 minutes.
He's not getting much closer than the kind of half-second mark, but he's not dropping away. Like we said earlier, we've not really seen him around in any of the official events much, but he's obviously learning, being behind Lucas Mint. He's learning a bit about the lines and the braking points, and he's picking up some useful tips, which is always a good place to be in a race where you find yourself just a little bit off the pace of the guy in front of you. If you can pick up a few hints, it's a good way to learn.
He's definitely, I wouldn't say learning, but reading Lucas Mint. And I'm thinking whether he actually also is waiting a bit, because he knows Lucas Mint, if he's behind you into Le Camp, he's passed. He's passed 3 people there today. In always what was pretty much a free throw move. Meanwhile, that is Pierre Colbeck. I was wondering for a second if that was Pascal John, but that would have been quite the time loss. But he knows that if he is in front of Lucas Mint by the final lap, Lucas Mint is probably going to get passed once more.
Yeah.
So if he's just keeping the distance to a degree that he can safely work his tires without the fronts overheating, which is sometimes a genuine problem with the Audi. Of course, while being oversteery, you kind of also work the front tires a lot due to the mid-engine layout.
Yeah, and he maybe doesn't want to get too much into the dirty air and lose even more front end, which gets its tires even hotter at the front.
I mean, maybe from an opportunity to rises with the Aston Martin of Michael Caine in the way, of course, a lapped car. And even though he has been obliging the blue flags very well so far, it will always cost the leading car a bit of time. So Michael Caine gets
for sure.
But
he's way out of the way there. I'm very respectful of him. Thank you very much, Michael Caine.
But still, you see 2/10 lost from Lucas Mint to Queen, not because Michael Caine didn't leave any space. I mean, you can't leave more space on it. You actually don't have to get off the track obliged to blue flags, but if you are approaching a lapped car and you need to put a lap, you always will have to have an eye on it. You always leave a bit of space and leave a bit of pace on the track as well, since you don't want to risk it, right? You don't want to bump into that car, which then would also be your fault on top of that, but it will always lose you a bit of time. And if you're the following car, you can just observe, see what the car in front of us does, and usually just copy and paste, do the same.
Yeah. Yeah, if the front car is always kind of a bit like the canary in the coal mine with how the lapped car is going to behave, if they're going to get out of your way or if they've seen you coming at all. So they always get to kind of test the waters, whereas the back car can really use that to close up the gap. We saw that amazing overtake in RFL last week with Dominic Ladler going side by side and going the other way past a lapped car. Well, it was an overtake, I think, not a lapped car. But it was a great move. I loved that.
Yeah, it really was good. I mean, it's kind of like if you want to merge onto the highway where there's a lot of traffic and people just wouldn't want to let you merge. That's basically how you feel as a lapped car if you have a couple of cars lapping you in behind, because they're just all going through that gap and through that gap. And you won't really find any space to go through to drive your race. That's of course what hindered Joachim Thunder earlier in this race, where he just was like on the front stretch just letting everyone by, because if he didn't, he would have been totally squeezed out of a Rouge, for example. But while these two have been busy with each other, Dominic Ladler kept the distance to Lucas Mint at 8.4 seconds, and with 5 minutes left on the clock, I think for him, he just has to be safe now.
Yeah, he's still lapping within half a tenth of his best. He's doing a Dominic Ladler and just being incredibly consistent up front there. Although, saying that, I mean, Lucas Mint and Sebastian Kund, they're both within half a second of their best laps as well right now. They're all the top three are being very consistent with their lap times.
Will be 2 more laps for Dominic Ladler.
Lucas Mint getting a purple middle sector on that lap, so he's trying to pull away a bit of a gap from Sebastian Kuhn towards the end of the race. But it's not working. Sebastian Kuhn's still there, still holding on.
I really hope we see them back for next season.
I hope so too. It's been a good race watching them. They've been fast and respectful, and they've been good kind of ambassadors for the esports, I suppose. Even if it is just one race.
I think Lucas Mint has done 1 race in season 2, if I'm not mistaken.
His name rings a bell, yeah, I think he has. Sebastian Kuhn closing up quite a lot there. Coming into the second sector.
Lucas Mint going a bit wide through Puhon. Next week, of course, on Friday, the 3rd season of the Founders League, which will be the last time it's actually called the Founders League, season 3, will resume, or will start rather said, with the front-wheel drive car, so that will also be very interesting to watch. course,
Either way, there's some touring cars.
of course, the last touring car race was very interesting, with Lunio winning that one, being the first one to not be Maximilian Dehn to win in the Founders League. But also, of course, the RENNSPORT community event at Krystall in the Praga R1s will be on Saturday, and yeah, the Praga, since its rework, is a very fun and interesting car.
I've always enjoyed driving the Praga, and it has changed its characteristics as the tyres have updated. But it's a very fun car to drive.
I mean, there's one guy in the moderator team who absolutely fell in love with the combination, I think. Remco. And for good reason. It is actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed it as well when I did the trailer works for it. And apparently Crest is very popular within the community. The GT3 race at Crest has seen some good playership. Meanwhile, Sebastian Kühn has lost quite significant time here in Sector 1. Just couldn't get a good drive after the Camel Straight.
Yeah, it caught right up, and then he just lost a bit of time on this last lap. He's fighting to make it back. Looks like this is going to be the last lap of the race. So he'll have the white flag waving. So he knows he's not got many corners to make it work if he wants second place back.
Oh, Lukas Mint also losing the car there, and then Sebastian Kühn is right back with him at 5/10. Now it will be one final run to the bus stop. Up front it's Dominik Ladler. Dominik Ladler will be the Season 3 champion, defending his title for the second time in a row. Now one final
3
time
seasons, 3 wins. You can't say much of a better record than that.
No, you really can't. Dominik Ladler, the RENNSPORT Community League Season 3 champion and winner here at Spa-Franchorchamps. But who will be second? Will it be Lukas Mint or will it be Sebastian Kühn? They're side by side across the line. 700 between them, but it's Lukas Mint coming in second.
Yeah, Lukas Mint made a bit of an error coming into the bus stop there, and Sebastian Kühn got alongside. I thought for a second he might have had the bit of run coming onto the start-finish straight, but he just couldn't quite make it. But he seems pretty happy with that by the look of his donuts.
Great donuts here by Dominik Ladler, and a little drift around his Porsche colleague as well.
3 wins out of 3 seasons. 100% record for Dominik Ladler.
What a performance it has been again. Once more. I mean, the trailer of this season has been who can beat Dominik Ladler, and well, apparently he is the one to do so.
Yeah, nobody.
I mean,
champion yet again.
How different it might have been with Dennis Heinz in the final rounds. He has won the first 4 races. That's why he has 600 points to his name as well. And we shouldn't write that down in a sense. It has been a great achievement by Dennis Heinz as well, but it's Dominik Ladler. He's been there when it counted, and he's backed his own wins this season. What more do you want?
I think we've kind of run out of superlatives to say about Dominik Ladler over 3 seasons of wins. He is the king of consistency.
We'll just check the final standings once they are available.
But you can see there from the schedule where we've got the start of the next RFL, we've got the RCL first round coming up in 2 weeks, the RCE at Crest, which will be 2 20-minute races, I think it is.
Yeah, very much. So, I mean, the Praga is a sprint car.
Yeah. Although the RCE does have CEST written on it. Proofreading, you know.
Yeah.
You've got
About
CET on the other ones.
it's because I prefixed that. Meanwhile, well, I did mistakes again in the graphics, of course. Let's have a look at the final standings. We see Dominik Ladler, 844 points. That's a new record, as far as I can see. Dennis Heinz in second with 600 points, just in front of his TRL colleague Joachim Thunder, who still sits in third, even with that disappointing last race, and in general, not that much luck on his side this season. Does he also have a 100% podium rate? He's been second in season 2, and he should be... Oh no, he's... Okay.
No.
Unfortunate, but still, I mean, a podium for him is very... I think might ease the pain a bit from today.
Hopefully.
Julian.
I know he was feeling it after today's performance as well. Nobody wants to end the season with a DNF.
Julian Chico jumped up to 4th, Adrian Lunio 5th, Pascal Jordan getting up into 6th, Pierre Colbeck just by finishing the races. He is in 7th in the standings. Danny Schroeder still in 8th with only 2 races he competed in. Then it's Benauda, who had a strong start to the season and that kind of fell apart, unfortunately, for him. Bräuniger not competing anymore for private reasons. Totally understandable, but still 10th in this championship. I think also with only 2 starts or 3. One of the 2.
Yeah.
Ali Zaya also won 2 races, I think. So good for him. And Lukas Bender in 12. Lukas Mint actually tying Lukas Bender there for 12. So congrats to everyone on this list. Kühn also jumping to 14th with his 3rd place here today. But yeah, that's it for season 3. Do you have any final words? Any verdicts?
No, it was a good season, I think. It was some exciting races earlier on, like you said, but then unfortunately the second place driver Dennis Hines couldn't make it into the final round or final 2 rounds. But still, we've got another deserving winner with Dominik Ladler.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, it has been, I think, the most interesting season so far in the community leagues.
It does seem to be getting better and better with each season.
Yeah, don't jinx it now. Yeah, I mean, if we just think back to the opening race in Jeddah, we had that opening fight between Heinz, Ladler, Benauda. I think Lunio was also in there. 3 Porsches bumper to bumper at 270 kph. That has been almost ridiculous to watch. Was that good. And then Daytona, the usual Daytona chaos, but still very good to watch. Hockenheim was a bit chaotic, but in the end had some very good racing. Of course, a bit hampered by what happened in the opening laps, but apart from that, fairly close and competitive. And Nürburgring, yeah, it was very interesting, wasn't it, with Dennis Heinz. Actually, I think that was his most dominant race in a way. Daytona was very good, but Nürburgring was perhaps even better. So
I agree with you there. I think Nürburgring was, or not, was a very dominant performance.
And then of course Road Atlanta. I mean, Danny Schroeder definitely gave Dominic Lala a run for his money there. Gave a good show as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I mean, with the tracks, I think the next season will be a bit of an all-star season in terms of the track selection. Basically, the best races we had in season 1, 2, and 3 combined to one season. So it will be very interesting. Certainly. And I'd say thank you for watching throughout the season. Thank you for supporting the channel. And we will see you back next week on Friday for the RENNSPORT Founders League, Saturdays with the RENNSPORT community event, and of course during the week in the official contests, which you can see right now on screen. Hopefully there's something for you to find and race in. And until next time, have a good night, have a great weekend, and goodbye.
Goodbye.